Welcome back to another Tallest Tower devlog. In this video, I show you all of the changes I've made to my up-and-coming Roblox game, The Tallest Tower. So I basically reworked the whole entire project since the last video, and it's looking a lot different, but it's looking a lot better. I made a lot of internal changes as well as external changes to the game that should make it a lot more fun to play and a lot more stable to run. So in this video, I'll be showing you the internals of my project. You can get an inside look of how I make my Roblox games, which should be really, really cool. And you get to see all of the aesthetics and gameplay changes. So I hope you enjoy this video. If you do, like and subscribe. Comment any questions or suggestions down below, but without further ado, let's get into the video. So let's start with the visual changes. As you can see here, the map has been completely reworked from the ground up. And the way I did this was using height maps and color maps through the terrain editor. So if you want to use that, you just go to the terrain editor, then you go to import, and you can import whatever game assets you have. So I have these assets in GIMP, and there are two maps. The first one is a grayscale map, which depicts the height for the map. So if I go back to Roblox, you can see that the little circle in the middle with the indentation corresponds with the circle in the middle, which is lighter, and the water is a lot darker since it's a lot lower. And then you have this little indentation, which is a little darker. And this allows you to create some really nice terrain really, really quickly, and it looks very nice. And by the way, if you're wondering, I made this wall by using parts. If I go to the terrain editor again, I can go to convert, and I can convert whatever part I want. So I just made a bunch of rectangular parts and made a wall. And along with the height map, there's a color map, which all I did is I copied and pasted the height map and I colored it. So Roblox provides a bunch of terrain material colors. So this blue is water, green is grass, and this little brown color is the ground. This color was supposed to be sand, but since it's a little blurry, I don't really know why. I'm not that good with GIMP. I can just get by with it. It became rocks. Still looks fine. The water looks fine. I'll take it. I also made this lobby area over here, which looks kind of crap, but it does the job. It's just a blank little lobby. You're not going to be spending a lot of time in here because you can't really die and get sent back to the lobby. It doesn't really serve a purpose. It's like the Arsenal menu screen if you ever played Arsenal, where you're not there a lot other than just to buy stuff and to press play again. So it doesn't really need to be too beautiful. That's exactly what it is here. So along with these visual changes, I also made a few scripting changes. So I'm here in Visual Studio Code to show you my scripting changes, and there is an absolute ton. First of all, I completely reworked my project using a few frameworks, and I split up the project into three categories. You have game, which is split up into client, you have server, and you have shared. So the client stuff goes into starter player scripts, server stuff goes into starter server scripts, and shared goes into replicated storage. This is a really nice system in Visual Studio, and let me show you how it replicates to Roblox. So you can see here in server script service, it copies the server folder. Here's all our stuff. And in our player scripts, does the same exact thing. In replicated storage, you have your shared. Don't worry about these. I'll talk about them in just a second. Along with the whole total project changes, I also rewrote a lot of my code using a game framework called Knit. So Knit is an absolutely amazing framework made by another Roblox YouTuber named sleitnick. I'll put his link down in the description. And it's a super lightweight module. All you do is copy and paste the folder. So I copy and pasted the source folder into my project, but you can also get it as a Roblox model. So just as a module script with all the stuff in it, and it works wonders. It allows me to do so many things. So let's start with the server. So the server is split up into components, modules, and services. In the services, it's basically a bunch of singletons. Let me go to my game service that run with the startup of knit. So I have a ton of services. They're all module scripts. These module scripts are run by a singular server script named server runtime. All it does is it requires the modules. Don't worry about this. This is just some function definition. And it starts knit. That's literally all it does. We initiate a bunch of stuff. And the really cool thing about knit is since I'm guaranteed that all modules in my game have it, I can define some globals. So I have knit.modules, which is script.parent.modules, so any other script can access it. And in case this changes, this location, I can just rewrite this. I don't have to rewrite the location in each of my scripts. I also have shared and config. I'll go over config in just a second as well. So each service is run off the start, and it uses the knit start and knit methods, and they basically start the game. So this game service has a loop that is the game loop. And what it does is it initiates a round, which is part of the modules. Modules are just like classes, basically. So I have my round class, basic, meta method, and you have the basic stuff. And you can see the round utilizes a maid, which a maid is a cool utility module. If I go to the maid, here we go. Its syntax and its API is very, very simple. All it is a maid, basically. You give it a task, which can be an event connection, a function, or an instance with a destroy method, or instance table with a destroy method. Then once you're done with those said methods or event connections, whatever, you can just destroy it. It's really, really, really simple. I love this module because in the past I've implemented these systems pretty cleverly, if I do say so myself, but in each class alone. So I made a connections table, for example, which had all my event connections, and I called disconnect on them when I was done. But this is very, very simple and makes it really easy and standardized. So I can just put everything, all of my connections, like I put my player added connection into the maid, and it'll get deleted once I call round destroy when I destroy the maid. It's really, really cool. Knit comes with a bunch of these utility modules. A few of the good ones are like a promise or an option, and these are all modules that come from other languages or other frameworks, and it's just a compilation of the best. And you don't have to use all of them if you don't want to, but they're all really, really, really useful. Another good one is a thread or a signal, which is basically like a custom event. There's some really cleverly written modules, and they're documented very, very well. So all the comments are good. So I sometimes take a look and I see what I can learn from them as well. So if I go over to the client, you can see it's organized in much the same way. But instead of services, we have controllers. Now, controllers are just the client-side equivalent of a service. And we can just go in and see some stuff in like our camera service, for example. One of the coolest things about knit is the ability to knit the client and the server. That's the whole point of the module. So you can see here, I require knit in the very top, and then I get a service. Oh, whoops. You may be wondering, how can I get a service? It's on the server. And knit does all of the remote functions, remote events for you. It does not leave any like raw remote events or functions that you have to tamper with. So when I use a function on WinService, it's actually calling a remote event. In this case, I'm actually using a remote event, and you can like explicitly create a remote event. Like WinService is a remote event that says set podium camera enabled, and I can automatically connect it. But you can also use a function, and it can return a value using a remote function, which is really, really cool. So services and controllers are really nice, and they allow your code to be very short and concise and simple, since you only have one local script and one server script. But we've probably all all the advanced developers, we've probably done something like that or similarly at one point or another. Like in my last object-oriented programming video, if you watch that, I talked about using this sort of project structure. But the thing that makes knit really, really unique is knit components, which these components, they're so simple, but they're amazing. So you saw in my client and my server, I have a components folder. Each of them only has one component, but I can obviously increase that in the future. So the component I'm in the module right now is a module script basically, or a class I should say, that is instance on any object that has a specific tag. And tags in Roblox are defined using the collection service, if you don't know about that. In Roblox, there's a really cool tag editor plugin which allows you to edit the tags. So let's go to our anchor, for example. So the anchor is a new part in my game that allows parts around it to be anchored because that seemed like a big thing that everyone wanted. So when I click this, you can see anchor is highlighted. So that means this anchor module, or model I should say, has the anchor tag according to the collection service. So what knit does is it basically checks through all of our components. So let's go to the anchor component, and it has a special tag that's anchor. And this tag is what knit uses to figure out where it should go. So when the game starts, knit checks, oh, is this part an anchor, or is it tagged with an anchor, or it checks all parts that have the tag of anchor, and it gives it this module. So it calls anchor.new, and it gives us the instance in which this class, like the specific instance of the class, is connected to. So this allows us to make really nice and concise component systems that when a part gets spawned, for example, the anchor part, like when it gets spawned, we want to do all of our stuff, but then when we want to destroy it, we can destroy it. And it obviously integrates the maid because you'll need stuff like that for the maid. And the components are really useful when you want something temporary, like for example, this anchor block, because the anchor block does not stay for the whole game always. It spawns in, then it gets destroyed, then it spawns in, and it gets destroyed. Similarly, I use a manipulator component for the player. So the manipulator component allows the player to pick up and throw parts, and this component is added to the player instance directly. It also, like the manipulator tag is also used to reference the players in the game service. So in the game service, basically it checks, well, not in the game service, in the round, because the round is basically a part of the game service. We can check players in the game by giving them the manipulator tag. We can add them in, and we can also remove them by removing the manipulator tag, which is really, really useful and allows me to make some really nice code without keeping like a players list. And using tags is really, really good because if the player leaves, then their tag is automatically removed, basically, because when we check all the tagged instances, they won't show up. So tag collection service is really, really nice. I need to make a tutorial on this. I don't know why I haven't, but I will soon. You can see also here I use knit.config, which is basically a shared module, and this is really useful. It's just a bunch of it's a module script. It returns a table of all of the contents that I need for my game. Really, really useful, can be accessed by both the client and the server. But knit, in conclusion, is amazing. Along with knit, I'm also using another framework. This is not a game framework, it's a UI framework called Roact. Now, Roact was actually made by Roblox, I'm pretty sure. So it's supported very well. You can see it's pretty big. It's kind of crazy. It's based off of React, which is used to create Facebook and Instagram, I believe. So it's a really nice interpretation of a JavaScript library in Roblox. It just basically gives you the ability to create your UI using a bunch of components, and these components are used to instance elements. Really, really nice. So I can define like templates. Like I have this normal text template, which creates an element of type component text label, and it has a bunch of default things. And this allows you to reuse a bunch of your UI components without having to change each one individually. The only downside to it is that you can't see your UI in game. Like you'll notice I have UI enabled up here, but nothing's showing up. That's because the UI is housed within Roact and it's spawned when the game starts. But the benefits definitely outweigh it because, for example, if I go into my clock, I have the text label and all of the things needed to get the information for the text label integrated here. So I have the game service and I set the state. And so internal states allow you to update this single component without updating the rest of the tree. This stuff gets really complex, so I'm not going to go into it in detail. But basically, I check if it's visible, then I return a new element, which is the text in the element. So it allows you to update the element by creating a new instance of it. And that's the whole idea behind Roact. Instead of editing current instances, you just make new ones every update, which in Roblox might not be the best since you have to destroy and create, and that's pretty costly on performance, but it's UI. It should be fine. So now I want to go over a few of the gameplay changes because along with the full script rework, the game plays very similarly, but there are a few distinct changes. And you can also see some more of the aesthetics, like these new parts, which are sort of themed like a construction site, and so is the plot. And you can see the dragging and throwing are basically the same. Throw might be a little too powerful. Might need to fix that. But let me just drag one of these parts. If it comes, here we go. I can drop it on my plot. This works the same. But when a part is on a plot, you can no longer grab it. So this prevents people from just grabbing your tower and like making it fall down. They actually have to throw parts appropriately. And it prevents you from just shoving a bunch of parts on your plot and then organizing them later, because I can't really move this. I can't drag it at all. I have to like hit it off somehow. And also anchor blocks should spawn, but right now they're like really rare. So I might have to fix that. But I can just drag these parts. I can still do like rotations. I can still bring it. Oh, well, I won. Look at that. And this little win animation. I think this is pretty cool. It's a lot better than the podium. The podium was really ugly. The whole map was ugly. I like this a lot. And it looks very nice. And this little middle bit is just meant to keep the parts in the middle so you interact with other players. And this brings up another good point, which is now, if I were to throw a part really quickly. Let me see this. Let me go get a part. I need to like throw it against the wall for some testing. Okay, these parts are being very stubborn. For some reason, wedges get stuck a lot. I don't know why. But you can see I threw a part and it hit me. And within 1 second of being hit by a part, you fall over. So when another player comes and they're threatening you, you can throw a part at them and knock them over and keep them away from your tower. So it adds a little bit more of a dynamic. I'm still not sure if the game will be fun. I haven't really playtested it yet. But I think these changes, it should improve it quite a bit. Especially the looks. The looks look a lot better. The UI still needs a lot of work, but I'm still learning Roact, so I don't necessarily know it quite yet. So that's about it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this devlog. I made a lot of changes, and I kind of grinded them out without updating, like with a bunch of clips. I'm not sure how that works. You guys can let me know down in the comments whether you like that better than showing progress clips, because I just kind of had to work on it, and the progress was kind of boring. It was just reworking the whole thing. So yeah. I mean, other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you did enjoy this video. So I might be taking a break from Tallest Tower devlogs for a little bit because my break is almost over. My winter break is almost over. I'm going to go back to school. It's going to be really, really busy. But I still have a bunch of tutorials coming out. I'll still have a few side projects coming out. But I'm kind of also losing motivation for this project. I still sort of like the idea. I just need to work on it. The gameplay definitely needs a little bit more work. For right now, it does work fine. I'm just not sure that a computer-only like mini game would work well, because there's no way I'm porting the park controls on the mobile. I could try, but it'd also be really laggy with all these physics. But who knows? We'll see in the future. If you guys have any input for me, just make sure to comment because I'm open to your suggestions. Other than that, I hope you guys have a nice day and goodbye.